The Pixel 11 series hit GeekBench. And to clarify things, there's a brand new version of GeekBench. And I was seeing a lot today online of people dogging these scores, saying, oh my God, look at these scores. It's the same old Pixel, same old Tensor. The scores suck. The new GeekBench 7, you would think newer application, newer testing makes for better scores, right? Incorrect. It's actually the opposite. So this Pixel 11 Pro XL was tested on the GeekBench 6, the traditional one everybody is used to, that's been out for years. And they also tested the Google Pixel 11 Pro XL on the new GeekBench 7. Now, as I mentioned, GeekBench 7 shows lower scores across the board, no matter what device you test it on. So people were taking the new, and I don't think people are aware of this. Like, I just don't think people, and that's why when the leak of the Pixel 11 Pro XL GeekBench scores got put out to the public, people automatically pointed to those GeekBench 7 scores and said, oh, look how low they are. I knew they were low. Well, yeah, but on my video yesterday where I did a benchmark test on my Z Flip 8, the scores are lower. And I did a GeekBench 7 test on the S26 Ultra, and the scores are lower. And I did a GeekBench 7 test on the Motorola Signar, and the scores are lower. So that's why you're going to hear everybody say, oh, the scores suck. Well, actually, I have scores that we're going to view in just a second with the Pixel 11 Pro XL on GeekBench 7 and GeekBench 6 that everybody is used to. So we'll get a chance to see what it looks like compared to all the other flagships on GeekBench 6 and GeekBench 7. Just to let you know where the Pixel 11 Pro XL stands when it comes to just raw power and performance. So let's go ahead. Let's pull up this picture and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So let's just look at the two latest Snapdragon CPU. So we have the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, which is in the new Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 8, the best of the best in the CPU world. And then we also have the CPU in the Motorola Signature, which is the watered down version of the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, which is the Snapdragon 8 Gen 5. They took the Elite off of there. It's just the Gen 5. And it's still very powerful, right? It's considered a flagship CPU. But I wanted to give you both test scores with both of Snapdragon's flagship CPUs this year on GeekBench 6 and GeekBench 7. So let's compare the Google Pixel 11 Pro XL, GeekBench 6 and GeekBench 7 scores to Snapdragon's latest and greatest, the 8 Elite Gen 5. So on the on the right side of the screen, if you're watching me on vertical, it's cut off, but I'll tell you what the benchmark scores are. So on the Pixel 11 Pro XL, GeekBench 6, that's the one everybody's familiar with. It had a single core score of 2501. 2501 and multi-core score of 5384. 5384 multi-core score, single core score of 2501. Now let's go look at the Z Flip 8, which has the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. And the GeekBench 6 scores on that was, it's really small, was 3582. And multi-core score was 10539. So GeekBench 6 Pixel 11 series scored 2501 compared to the Snapdragon 8 Elite's 3582. Again, respectable for the Pixel. It's not horrible, but it's respectable. Now look at GeekBench 7. Now everybody was looking at GeekBench 7 scores today and saying, oh my God, look how low it is. The GeekBench 7 scores have the Pixel 11 Pro XL at 2112, and the multi-core score of 5196. That's what everybody was looking at today and saying how incredibly low it was. Well, it's on the new Geekbench. So let's go back to the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 and see what that scored on the new Geekbench 7. New Geekbench 7 was 3,068 and multi-core score was 10,043. So you can see how just that new Geekbench application dropped essentially 500 points off of the single core score of the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. So again, I wanted to include both just so everybody can be clear. So there's a noticeable difference between the Tensor G6 and the Pixel 11 series and the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. A noticeable difference. Pixel still has a respectable score. But what about the watered down flagship version of the Snapdragon 8 Gen 5 that's in the Motorola Signature? Well, on Geekbench 6, the Motorola Signature scored 2918 compared to the Google Pixel 11 series on Geekbench 6, 2501. So 2918 versus 2501. And then the multi-core score of the Motorola Signature and on the Geekbench 6 test was 9266 compared to the Tensor G6's 5384. Now, look how much it drops off when you go to Geekbench 7. So Geekbench 7 test for the Motorola Signature with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 5, single core score of 1346. And look at what the Pixel scored. 2112 versus 1346. So on the Geekbench 7, the Pixel outscored the Motorola Signature. And on single core. Now, multi-core score, it didn't quite beat the Motorola Signature, but it got close because the Motorola Signature on the new Geekbench 7 scored 6882. And for the Pixel 11 Pro XL scored 5196. So that gives you, so look, it's not complete and total trash. It's just not. Now, I know everybody wants to dog on Pixel, and yes, I have been guilty of that too. I will be the first to admit. I've dogged on Google Pixel Tensor, and rightfully so in the past, but it's not all bad, right? It's not all bad. So I think, and look, we're going to get one, and we're going to be doing testing here in-house. So if you're a Pixel fan or you're on the fence, think, should I get it? Should I not? I don't know. Subscribe to eSIM Studios, and we will do all the testing for you, and we will showcase what the device can do. They're respectable. They're not total trash. Now, I think the multi-core score could get better, and they probably will. And look, this is the very, very beginning, right? The developers can optimize the operating system. These typically, for all you iPhone users out there, we're quite opposite, because with Android devices, with flagship Android devices, they typically get better over time, meaning the developers fine-tune the operating system, tweak it, make those little subtle changes to increase performance, the fluidity of the operating system. I know you iPhone users are used to your iPhones getting shittier as time goes on, meaning Apple degrades and downgrades the CPU, right? Or they'll do subtle little things to, with essentially make you upgrade. Apple wants you to upgrade, so they mess with your phone. You could have a ton of bugs after upgrading to the latest iOS. Well, typically with Android, we don't have that problem. So these scores will get better over time. Now, will they double in score? No, but it will get better. I can promise you that. So multi-core score could be a little better, but single core score is pretty good. I mean, it's pretty respectable. So I think this did a little better than what I had expected. So I'm happy with it. Well, I shouldn't say happy with it, but I'm okay with it. I'll put it that way. I'm okay with it. I'm all right with it. Let's see here. I am okay with that. Now, let's talk about the specs real quick. We'll go over the specs. So you're gonna have. I've been seeing a lot of publications online saying this is not the Pixel to upgrade. There's a ton of them out there, right? Skip this, skip that. I've seen a lot of people say that they're just frankly not upgrading, and that's fine. I'm not here to change your mind. I will never tell you, oh, you got to buy this device. Everybody's financial situation is different. You might not even need to upgrade, right? Because let's face it, you can purchase a flagship phone and sit on it for a good 3 to 4 years without having to upgrade, right? But if you're one of the ones that are thinking about upgrading, right? Maybe you have a Pixel 7 series, a Pixel 8 series, or even a Pixel 6, right? Might be time to upgrade. Now, if you have a Pixel 10, yeah, you might not need to upgrade. But if you're still wanting a little more, or you wish your Pixel 10 series was a little more refined, and maybe you like it, but you just want better battery life. Maybe you want a little more power. Maybe it's the little things that you're looking for. Well, I think this Pixel 11 series is out to fulfill your needs, essentially, because I think with this upcoming Pixel 11 series, they're tweaking the design to make it look... The Pixel 10 is a really good phone, but with the Pixel 11, they're just tweaking some things to improve upon. The looks, for one thing, they're taking the half moon away from the back of the camera island. It looks very nice. Now, you're getting the new Tensor G6 CPU that we just reviewed. You're getting an all-new display. Samsung's latest and greatest OLED display. You're going to get that right out the box. The M16 OLED panel. It's a absolute stunning display. It's going to be life-changing as far as just how little it drains the battery. It drains up to, I believe, 70% less power than the previous generation. Right? So you're getting a new OLED display, you're getting a new processor, you're getting a all new modem. Now, I know there's been some people out there that have had issues with the modem. That's been a lot of cause of some people battery drain, right? I know some people have been hit with a battery drain bug. The modem has something to do with that. If it's always searching for a signal, if it's always searching for a better signal, if you have a weak signal, it's always going to be searching around for the best signal. Well, this new modem solves all those issues. You're going to be able to take full advantage of T-Mobile's new 5G standalone network. AT&T also has a brand new 5G network that the Pixel will now be able to hop on and fully use. You're getting new UFS 4.0 storage. That's a big deal. You're getting all new UFS storage. You're getting a little bigger battery. It's not a drastic increase in battery size, but with all these little changes that they're making, the new more efficient CPU, the more new efficient OLED panel, the new more efficient modem, the slightly bigger batteries, Google is saying you're going to get over 30 hours of battery life. 30 hours of battery life. Now, here's one of the more impressive things, and it's so impressive, I'm going to have to wait and see it to believe it, because when I tell you this, it's kind of hard to believe. I'm going to be honest with you. When I heard it, I was like, that can't be right, can it? Google is claiming that this Pixel 11 Pro and Pro XL can charge up to 55% in just 5 minutes. 55% in 5 minutes? Huh? That's like... That would be like the first, maybe the second fastest charging phone on the market. And Google is known for having some of the slowest charging phones ever. So they would literally go from slowest charging to fastest charging in one generation. Now we're going to test this out. Trust me, I thought it was a misprint. I had to do my own homework, and yeah, it says that on their marketing material. Charge 55% in 5 minutes. Okay. But if that's real, if that's a real thing, you're getting incredible charging speeds. I mean, it's like everything that I disliked about Pixel, they're starting to turn around. They're starting to fix. They're starting to change. They're starting to improve upon. And it was already a really good phone. And I think this year, if everything turns out to be true, I think you could have a badass phone on your hands. A badass phone. Now, it's not just all about specs. It's just not all about specs, because we all know you can have the best spec phone out there, meaning you can have on every spec sheet, on every line, you can have the very best specs, but it only goes so far if you don't have a real nice fluid operating system. And I think Google has made some strides when it comes to customization, right? And everybody wants to customize their phone. And that was one of the downsides. One of the cons about Pixel phones is they're almost too simple. They're almost, dare I say, too boring. You know, when you compare a Pixel to Samsung, the operating systems, it's not even comparable. Like, you can theme and customize everything under the sun on a Samsung phone with One UI. You can customize everything under the sun on a OnePlus 15 with Oxygen OS, or soon to be Color OS. I mean, literally everything has a setting. And it's just not like that with Pixel. At least it hasn't been in the past. And just over this, I would say last 10 months, or let's say last 2 years, the last major operating system, just with the introduction of Android 16, and now I think rolling into 17, you've really seen Google start turning the tide when it comes to allowing you to customize your phone, theming your phone, custom icons, custom live wallpapers. See what I'm saying? You weren't able to do that in the past. And now just recently they're allowing you to do that. So I think somebody got into their ear, or they sat down at the table and said, look, here's what our operating system does, but look what our competitors can do. Right? I'm not even talking about iPhone, because that's as boring as it gets. With all these other Android phones, you can do a bunch of cool shit with your phone. And I think just now Google's starting to realize that and allowing users to customize their phones a little more. So I think they need to, and I think they will. As time goes on, they're going to allow more and more settings, more and more customization, more and more theming as time goes on. And I think the operating system, it's very simple, very easy, very fluid. So I think you have that to be excited about moving into the future. Now, one thing we are not going to be excited about is the price. So I think at this point, everybody knows everybody's raising the prices on their devices. It's said that Google is going to raise their prices of these devices up by $100 across the board. So whatever device you got, or whatever device that was priced last year, you're going to add $100 on top of that. Now, Google is doing away with the 128 gig models this year, and they're going to start out at 256. Now, remember, you're only getting 12 gigs of RAM when you pair it with 256 gigs of storage. It's only when you increase your storage to 512 or 1 terabyte, that's when you get the 16 gigabytes of RAM. So essentially, if you're used to getting 256 gig models, well, and you want that extra, you're going to need it. The extra 4 gigs of storage, 4 gigs of RAM, to bump it up to 16 gigs of RAM. You're going to want, it's unfortunate because you can't just buy the 16 gig of RAM 256 gig model. You're going to have to bump up to the 512 model. So what I was saying is, if you got the 128 gig last year with 16 gigs of RAM, well, now you're going to have to not only go to 256, you're going to have to go to 512 just to get this 16 gigs of RAM. So it does suck, but I don't know. There's just nothing we can do in that department. You know, it sucks with these price increases, but you can finance it. You can get it through your carrier. It will be sold at T-Mobile, at AT&T, at Verizon. So if you don't want to pay the full $1,400 up front, you can get it through a carrier. You can put it on a credit card and pay monthly, or you can just buy it outright. But I have yet to figure out what I'm going to purchase mine through. I'm sure I'll just go through Google, but like I always do. So let's look at the colors, because colors was another thing, and here's another change, more proof that Google is actually listening to me. Who would have thought? Google actually listens to me? Wow. Because it seems like everything that I've dogged them on in the past, they're starting to change that. Now, before we get on to colors, let's get this 200 charging cycle limit thing talked about real quick. So starting with the Pixel 9a and the Pixel 10 series, Google said that after 200 charging cycles, because they want you to take care of the battery, after 200 charging cycles, they cut your charging speeds in half, they slow it down, and they cap your battery at 80%. Instead of 100%, they're capping it at 80%. They want you to take care of that battery. Well, I was pissed off because they're forcing me to do that. Now, if you charge your phone once a day, that's one charging cycle, right? Well, if you charge it 200 times, it roughly comes out to just over 6 months. So that's why I was pissed off at Google, is after 6 months of use, you're just going to tank my charging speeds. Now, we haven't heard anything from Google as far as if they're going to continue that on this Pixel 11 series. They did say in the past, when the 9A was launched and even the 10 series, that this new feature, battery saving feature, was going to be on all new devices moving forward. Meaning all new devices, even moving forward, even the new Pixel 11 series with blazing fast charging. How are you going to go from the slowest charging device on the Pixel 10 to the fastest charging device on Pixel 11? But then after 200 charging cycles, we're going to move you back down to slow charging. What? Look, Google, I know you watch my channel. All I'm asking is make it optional. You can keep that in there. Just make it optional. And maybe you could even make it a non-option once you get to 365 charging cycles. Like let people that want to buy your phone and enjoy it for a whole year. Let us enjoy it for that whole year. Don't tank the charging after 6 months, right? Make it optional up to 365 charges, which is 1 year, because I'm going to upgrade to the Pixel 12, duh. I never hold on to my phones for more than a year, but, whatever. Put that charging limit at a year, and then after that, make it optional, right? Make it optional up to 365 charging cycles. And then after 365 charging cycles, you can fully enable it, right? But we don't know. We don't know what they're going to do on that. They're very tight-lipped on the 200 charging cycle limit thing. And I've been called out. I've been called a liar, but it's a real thing. Just do your homework. It's online. Well, so far for the Pixel 11 is looking like a decent upgrade. And honestly, it's what the Pixel 10 should have been. Yeah, I think they're I don't want to speak for them. I'm not in contact with anybody over there at Team Pixel or the Pixel department. But I think they're hearing after a good the heat's been on them these last 2 years, right? Because with the Pixel 9, they introduced that all new style, right? The look of the Pixel, and that caught them a lot of good press. I mean, it's a beautiful looking phone, but when you bring the same kind of style again and it just doesn't look, I think the Pixel 10 series, I think they wish they could have it back. Now, I guess I'm speaking for them, but in my opinion, as a user, again, mine's been sitting in the drawer for 6 months. Why Why Google? Why? You see what I'm saying? Like they have been very good phones. But I think they're starting to hear the noise online. I'm telling you, have y'all seen this? There's been a ton of people saying, oh, it's another trash Pixel phone. Oh, this, oh, that. Well, if you look at the spec sheet, if you sit down and honestly look at the spec sheet, when they launch this on Wednesday, on August the 12th, if you look at everything that they're throwing in this phone, it looks like they're making an honest effort to take them up a notch as far as the device, the hardware. I'll give that to them. I will 100% give that to them. It looks like they're actually making an effort this year, and they're putting a lot of upgrades into these devices. So I think, this is probably what the Pixel 10 should have been, right? And again, I'm not in these meetings. I don't know what's said and what's debated in the boardroom meeting, and of course they have budgets. They can't go over a certain price for their speakers, for the vibration motor, for the display, for the cables, the antennas. There's stuff that has to be cut. Oh, we don't have money for that. Oh, see if you can renegotiate that supplier to see if they can bring them down 2 cents from that part. Like, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that I'm just not privy to, obviously. But from the outside looking in, honestly, this year, it looks like they're making an effort, in my eyes, to take this up a notch. Because, look, there is a ton of competition. The mobile phone industry is so hard to succeed in. And competition, they are bringing it. Samsung with the S26 Ultra, it's a really good device. And Samsung is going to take that up a notch with this S27 Ultra. I'm going to probably put out a video tomorrow or the next day. The S27 Ultra looks to be absolutely incredible. So Google has to bring it if they want people to buy their devices. And I think they finally, maybe their heads were in the clouds the last couple of years. Maybe they weren't looking at the noise from the outside. Maybe they weren't reading the comments. Maybe they weren't watching these videos on social media platforms. But they're getting dogged a lot. And rightfully so. As I mentioned, I didn't have the best experience over the last year or two. So rightfully so. I think, and I just hope, we get over this hurdle to where they're back to being a respectable device in the eyes of the public, right? At least that's what I hope. In fact, I think the Pixel 11 is going to be kind of what the Pixel 7 was for the 6. So essentially a refined version of the previous device. I think that's exactly what it is. I think that's exactly what it is. You're 100% right. The GPU seems to be an improvement as well, pretty good one, as Pixels are concerned. That is concerning, and how this was released on pre-release software, I'll bet it'll score and perform much better. I think so too. And did you hear at the beginning where a lot of people online, there's 2 GeekBench versions. There are GeekBench 7, the newest version of GeekBench, was just released. And I know even I thought right out the gate, oh, new GeekBench version, let me download it, let me test these devices. Well, you get lower scores on GeekBench 7 than what everybody is used to, the old GeekBench 6 that we've become accustomed to for the last few years. Well, people were taking that, people don't understand that. And so that's where a lot of that noise is coming from. People see this Pixel 11 Pro XL tested on the new GeekBench 7 application, and they see the scores are lower, and so they automatically, oh, look how trash that is, look how low they are. But they don't know that all devices score lower on the GeekBench 7. So that's common I tested all my devices, all of them score significantly lower. So it's not just a Pixel thing. So you're going to again, people don't get that. People don't understand that, but that's why it scored lower. And that's why you'll see lower numbers, because there's two sets of numbers floating out there. There's GeekBench 7 scores floating out there, and there's GeekBench 6 scores floating out there. But the only one that'll get attention is the GeekBench 7 scores, because it's shocking it scored so low. But people don't understand that that's normal for all devices to score lower on the newest version of GeekBench. So, it is what it is. But I think the scores will improve. They have shown, and here's the good thing. Google's not just putting this phone out and then backing off. Because with the Pixel 10 Pro, did everybody remember the hideous GPU scores? Well, all throughout this past year, all throughout these last 12 months, they've actually pushed a number of updates to improve that GPU. So you know that they will be working behind the scenes 2 months from now, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 10 months from now, with each and every update. Not each and every month you're going to get better and better benchmark scores, or should I just say performance? But they do work on that behind the scenes. So it will get better with time. It will get more optimized. It will be more fluid. And remember, Google is working on a new version of Android. I think they're going to, not necessarily a new version of Android, but remember, they're going to refine Android to use less RAM. And they're going to put that out pretty freaking quick. I think they're going to do it this month, if not next month, in next month's update. Because remember, the base Pixel 11 is only going to have 12 gigs of RAM now. You only get 16 when you go up to the 512 gig. So they want their Pixels running good on Android. It will not look good if they launch Pixel 11 and the base models just, stuttering along, buffering along. No, they want them to run good. So I think we're going to see an update here. Now, that goes for all other Android devices too, not just Pixel. That update they're going to push in this month or next month is going to make your phone be less RAM dependent. So it should run smoother, cleaner, should get better battery life. So I'm looking forward to it. I don't know about everybody else. Let's see. Definitely need better battery life for sure. One of the biggest weaknesses. They're going to improve it this year. They're big time. I will guarantee you're going to get better battery life. You're getting a new, more efficient CPU. You're getting a new, more efficient OLED display. You're getting a new, more efficient modem. And you're getting slightly bigger batteries. So all four of those things equals better battery life, for sure. Very few people talking about the new modem, 2nm chip, or M16 Samsung OLED screen. People went flashy and big new features. I like this design. I just want better battery, maybe thermals and video. I think you're going to see it this year. We're going to be getting one. And that's what, essentially, you summed it up what my thoughts are on this new Pixel series. Yeah, I want to see that too. And look, if we get one in and I don't see any improvement, I'll certainly let you know. They're not sending me anything, so I'm going to be purchasing this with my own money. So I'll certainly let you know. So make sure you subscribe to eSIM Studios, and we'll certainly be doing a bunch of testing over here. Still can't get over 200 charging cycles. I'll pass this year and get a Galaxy S27. Fair choice. Look, you have every right to do that. I still anticipate them. They haven't said that they're not going to do the 200 charging cycles. You see what I'm saying? And I said I was not going to buy another Pixel until they get rid of this. They were kind of tight-lipped on this because, look, I think when they made this decision, they knew the public was not going to like that decision, but not many people know about this. It's just the real nerdy people like myself that know about this. Like most people that buy, like my dad, my family, who I just tell them to buy Pixels, they don't have any idea. They probably don't even care. They're like, whatever, But to me, it's a big thing. Now, how will we know if they remove the 200 charging cycle limit? I don't know. Because there was a press release when they implemented this. In fact, you can still find it online. I don't know if they'll say something about it. I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But if I do hit a 200 charging cycle limit, or let's say on my 205th charge, it's taking forever, we'll know then. And then I'm going to sell it. Or it's going to sit in my drawer for 6 months. I'll probably sell it. But the S27 is going to be... Like, I don't think people realize how big of an upgrade Samsung's going to put in this S27 series. I was going to do a video about this over the weekend and just didn't get around to it, but I definitely am going to do it here in the next day or so, because it's going to be incredible. It's going to be incredible. They're finally going to spec everything out. I'm not even joking. So those days of where, I wish they put this in there. Oh, why didn't they put that in there? Well, at least next year. I don't know about 3, 4, 5 years from now, but at least this upcoming S27, they're throwing everything in the kitchen sink in it. Now, it may cost a little more, but Samsung's selling out these Fold 8s that are $2,000. All right? So I keep on telling these phone companies, if you build it, we will come. Meaning, if you put a badass phone out, people will buy it. Yeah, it's going to suck. It may be $100 more expensive, $150, $200 more expensive. Doesn't look like it's holding back anybody from buying a Fold 8. Samsung just broke sales records. A new report came out today saying they sold 5 million Z Fold 8s. What? That's like their entire sales from all last year. They just did that in 2 weeks. So a $2,000 device. So it's clearly not stopping anybody from buying a badass phone. So I think now that Samsung sees this, like, let's just throw the best specs in it. Duh. That's what we've been asking for you this whole time. You know? The price of the hardware, yeah, well, I guess it depends on how you look at it, but I certainly understand that. I'm going to wait in the past, yeah. I'm going to wait and see. I'm going to wait and see, get this one in and see what we have, and I'll make that, my opinion, my final determining opinion for value, I guess. That will have to wait after we do testing and I use it for a couple weeks. But we shall see. We shall see.